My fellow family foodie friends, welcome to a week of dinners using all pantry and freezer items. Things get a little creative, and I did have to get very little from the grocery store, but I'm going to get right into my meals with breakfast for dinner. So I was able to use lots of freezer blueberries. I had a pancake mix in our pantry. I used a single English muffin that was left in our freezer, half a bag of hash browns, and sausage patties. This took up a lot of opened items from my freezer meals. I am making a blueberry sauce. I use frozen blueberries. Always when I make this, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of vanilla, and then I make it nice and soupy just by heating it up on the stove. I kind of smash the blueberries, and that is going in the back of the stove. I'm heating up some sausage patties just as they are. Don't do anything special to them. And then the half bag of hash browns with some butter. I did have to buy butter this week. And I just get them nice and crispy on both sides, flipping them occasionally. That's the last you're going to see my hash browns. I am making the pancake mix. This is from World Market, exactly as it's directed on the box. I have milk, butter, eggs added to the correct proportions according to the directions, and I'm just frying them up on a griddle. They were white chocolate peppermint and super good. And into my blueberry sauce, I am adding some cornstarch mixed with water and some sugar just to add a little bit of sweetness and to thicken the sauce up. I accidentally thickened it too much because I'm not using a recipe. I just kind of eyeball it. I've made blueberry sauce many times, so I ended up adding just some more blueberries in to thin it out, and it worked great. So these are the first pancakes that are frying up in a bunch of butter. They turned out really good. I actually like them so much that I didn't even add syrup. I just ate them as is because they're white chocolate and peppermint. And then I had some toast with my sausage patties. My whole family ate different parts of the breakfast, but that's what I had. So my priority was using items that I already had open, which included these Parmesan tenders from Aldi. We actually really liked these, and I probably could have left them longer, but I wanted to use open items. I'm also adding some chicken nuggets in there for my son because I was making these quite spicy, and I didn't want him to have to eat those. So I have these going at 370 for 15 minutes, and while those are in the air fryer, I am just making an entire bag of those potato chips. They're supposed to be spicy barbecue. They weren't spicy at all. And then a half bag of French fries that I found in the freezer. You can see we are sauce fans, so those are all the dipping sauces I just had out for dinner. And once I had these cooked at 15 minutes, I added a lot of hot sauce. I don't remember the brand. The wrapper wasn't on the bottle anymore. But I saw this from Amanda of Mom's Messy Kitchen, adding hot sauce to her tenders before she put them back in the air fryer. And it made it so that they weren't all gooey at the end. And I loved it. Look how nice they are. They were really delicious, and I will definitely make them like that again. So thanks for the tip, Amanda. And we're just having pineapple with it. So this was a really quick, easy dinner. This is kind of a quintessential easy meal for a weeknight if we are in a rush. So I had a jar of sauce, a bunch of boxed pasta, which we always do, and I'm just doctoring it up with some Italian seasoning, onion powder, garlic salt, and Parmesan cheese. I'm just using up a lot of extras, and I'm just mashing it all together and making kind of a cheesy marinara sauce. And into this sauce, I add an entire box of cooked rotini. I didn't quite know exactly what I was going to do with this, but when I went to get my mozzarella cheese out of the fridge, I found like a quarter of a bag of pepperoni, and I thought that would be great to use up because I had no plans for it. So I ended up making this a pizza pasta. I also added sriracha. You guys know I love spicy food, so this added just a little bit of heat to the sauce. If I had had more pepperoni, I wouldn't have added it just on top. I would have cut the pepperonis up and stirred it into the noodles, but I didn't have enough for it to actually be noticeable that way, so I just added them on top and gave it a true pizza. Of course, I had to make a meatless version for Mila, who does not like to eat meat, so we had one with pepperoni and one without, and my whole family liked this. We also used up a loaf of Parmesan garlic bread that I found at the bottom of our deep freezer in my garage, so it was nice to get that out. It was dated for July 9th, so it's quite old. Lettuce was one of the only things that I did buy this week to accompany meals, and please tell me I'm not the only one that uses oven heat to heat myself when I'm done pulling something out of the oven. It's cold here in Michigan already. So this is what it looked like. It really does kind of look like a pizza, but my whole family liked it, and I like creamy tomato sauce, so I did add a bit of ranch to mine, but don't tell my kids because they would have wanted to too, but I know it's not very good for you. This is probably my favorite meal for the week because I absolutely love eating anything Mexican, Spanish inspired. I make this rice a lot. This is in my Instant Pot. I have a can of tomato sauce, 2 cups of rice, 2 cups of water, cilantro, onion powder, and garlic salt. It's all mixed together. I actually have a video exactly on how I make this. I will link that below. But you just hit the rice button on your Instant Pot and poof, it ends up being delicious in the end. You'll see that here soon. I made these a few weeks ago. They are from Trader Joe's. I didn't do anything to make these. I actually would like to make taquitos by hand sometime, but these were really easy. And total it was $9 for both cases, but I was able to get 2 meals out of both of them, so it was nice for $4.50 each meal. So I have half chicken, half black bean, again for my daughter that doesn't eat meat. Pineapple was the best price fruit this week at Aldi's, so it's what we ate. That's what I always do, is buy the best price fruit for our meals, and my daughter wanted to learn to use the pineapple slicer. This thing is amazing. I will link one below in my Amazon affiliate links, but it works really well, and you end up with some nice sliced pineapple. I am also making a flavored butter. This is going to go into corn. I found a bag of corn in my deep freezer and put it on the stove, boiled it, drained the water, and now I'm adding garlic, cilantro, pink Himalayan sea salt, and butter. It turned out so good. I never would have thought to make this until I wanted to use a bag of corn up, but I will probably be making this with a lot of my Mexican meals. I loved mixing it with my rice and eating it with the dinner. It was so good. This cheese sauce was left over from dinners of the previous week, and we had a wonderful meal. This is my favorite. I could eat this type of a meal every other night and still be wanting more. So if you notice in my weekly grocery hauls, I do not buy very much for lunch for myself because I am the leftover eater in our family. I take it kind of as my responsibility because I hate wasting food and we always have leftovers. So I'm just showing you one way that I get creative with my leftovers. We had some tenders left and I had some corn left over. I a lot of times take leftover meats and even vegetables and add them into salads. I love eating salads. You guys will notice that I buy a lot of lettuce or salad kits, because it really is just an easy way to make a leftover into a different meal and not the worst thing for you, except for when you add lots of ranch like I do. And don't mind my cutting. I was cutting and filming at the same time, so it wasn't the easiest thing in the world. Leftovers for the win! So this meal was another one where I had like nothing extra that I had to buy except for a little bit of butter. I am adding 6 chicken bouillon cubes. I would have preferred to have chicken broth, but I didn't have any on hand, and again, using what's in my pantry. And then a bunch of frozen chicken. I ended up having way more chicken than I needed for this recipe, so I kept half of it for a different meal. But I am just boiling that all together, getting some of the chicken flavor out. And I was going to make this without chicken for my daughter that doesn't eat meat, but she ended up staying the night at my in-laws' house, and she wasn't going to be home for dinner, so we actually got to put chicken in it. but I'm using the rest of some celery I had. I'm using my last single carrot. I'm adding that in here. I'm cutting up an entire onion. I'm just sweating the onion, and then I'm going to add the other vegetables on top, let them all get soft. I meant to add a 1/4 cup of flour into here before I added it into my broth, but I forgot, and you'll see I added it later. It turned out fine, but this point is where I'd really recommend you add the flour instead of later. But you can see I took out the chicken on the side. I have it in a Pyrex container for a future meal, and I'm just shredding the remaining chicken. It got a little messy. I spilled some broth on the side, but I use a hand mixer. It works wonderfully, and that way we get little pieces of the chicken throughout the meal instead of huge chunks, and I don't have to cut it by hand. I'm adding in my cooked onion and my celery and carrots that just got a little soft through sweating into this. This is inspired by chicken pot pie. I like to make that, but I didn't have any crust, and I didn't want to make some by hand, and I had noodles that had been sitting in my pantry for a long time. I'm adding in black pepper, celery salt, onion powder, and garlic powder. And of course I can't forget the parsley. I love the color of parsley. I love adding it to chicken meals, so it had to go in there. And I'm giving it a nice stir before I add in 1.5 cups of heavy cream. This really makes it chicken pot pie-ish in my opinion, and it looks like I'm making a soup. But once I add in this 1/4 cup of flour, which again I meant to add into the buttered vegetables, it would have just integrated a little easier, but I just stirred out all the clumps as best as I could. It didn't turn out chunky, but again, not my recommendation. And even though that looks like there's a bunch of broth, I'm adding in my noodles. I did forget to cut the top open, so we'll try again, adding in an entire bag of Essenhaus Homestyle wide noodles. I love these things, but we just hadn't used them, and again, trying to save money, use what's in my pantry. I was able to use them in here, and I just cook this really slow. You need to, as long as the heat is on, stir it frequently because your noodles will stick to the bottom, but I ended up turning off the heat, covering it, and this is the gooey yumminess I was left with. My whole family really liked this. It was super comforting. We had a chilly day, and we had chicken pot pasta. Lo mein is one of my personal favorite meals to make at home. It is super healthy as far as home cooked meals can really go, and it's very easy. My whole family, if I add it to a stir fry, will eat all the vegetables. And today I didn't have as many as normal because I usually buy like snap peas and water chestnuts and canned corn, but I was doing a pantry challenge and I had frozen peas and carrots, I had green onions to use up, I had ginger on hand, and I had lo mein noodles, but I didn't have broccoli, and I could not make this without adding fresh broccoli, so that is the only thing that I did add to my list. I'm gonna link below to the lo mein sauce that I use. It's from Damn Delicious. She has the most amazing recipes. I love her stuff. Her stuff is not only easy, but it's really delicious, and she has a lot of Asian recipes, and they're really good. They actually gave me a lot of confidence to cook with Asian ingredients, and I really love to do it, and my family loves to eat it, so it's a win. I'm grating up the ginger now, but again, this exact sauce recipe is going to be linked below, and her recipe I quadruple because we add a lot of veggies and I like it saucy. I told you you'd see the chicken again. So this is the leftover chicken that I pulled out from the chicken pot pasta, and I had it in a Pyrex container. I am just dicing it when it's cold, adding in the sweet chili sauce and some garlic chili sauce. The two of them together, I just poured it in by eye, and it made a pretty decent chicken for the side. We just heated it up on the stove. Nothing special, but it used up ingredients. And then I had these egg rolls. If you guys saw my grocery haul, you know that I've had those sitting in the freezer for a while. I popped them in my air fryer for 10 minutes at 400 degrees, and they were amazing. I have the pasta water going to the left, and before I make the noodles, because they do cook very quickly, it's literally 3 minutes of boiling, I am getting the vegetables sauteing in sesame oil. I didn't measure it. I'd say it's probably around 2 tablespoons, and then I slowly add in the lo mein sauce that I made because I don't want to add it all at the beginning or all at the end. I just kind of slowly do it. And these vegetables cook so nice and slow, and I really love to have a crispy broccoli, but my kids prefer it to be more mushy, so until their palates advance, I do cook them quite soft. So eventually the noodles are done and your vegetables are soft, and I just add it all together. I will say that lo mein vegetables are hard to get into the noodles, so I usually end up scooping the noodles and then scooping around the edges for some vegetables. I did add my chicken right on top, but for my family members, aka oldest daughter Mila, that doesn't like meat, we just keep it on the side. And this is a delicious meal that my whole family loves. The final thing that I did with my pantry challenge was use all of the frozen vegetable scraps that I have been storing in my freezer to make vegetable broth. Click right here to see exactly how I make vegetable broth, my entire process from start to finish. Making broth is actually super easy, and it's a way to tighten up your budget and feel super accomplished. Thank you so much for watching. Chow down and chow!